This is Talk Business and Politics with Roby Brock.
Welcome to today's Talk Business and Politics. I'm Roby Brock, joined by Tab Townsell. He is the Executive Director of Metroplan. Always good to see you, sir.
Glad to be here, Roby.
Yeah, you got a big event coming up to commemorate what has been happening in downtown Little Rock, North Little Rock, Central Arkansas for the last 25 years. Give everybody a little preview of what you got coming up.
Absolutely. What we're recognizing in 2020 is the 25th anniversary of the very first long-range regional transportation plan for the brand new four-county region then that was passed in 1995. We have produced a publication, Horizon 2020, that looks back on that time, that calls balls and strikes, the good things and the things we didn't quite get right. But more than that, we wanted to have an interview with the people who were there, who signed their names to the document and that sense of vision for the region. And so we're going to have a panel discussion. It's going to be at Ron Robinson Auditorium, October 21st.
This is Monday.
Monday
right.
Next week. And it's going to start at 6 o'clock. It's free, it's open to the public. It's going to have Mayors Pat Hayes and Jim Daly are going to come back with Judge Buddy Valines. It'll be the first time they've been together again since they abdicated their elected offices.
We're putting the band back together again.
Putting
is what you described
the Three Amigos, the Three Musketeers. But if you think about what they did on their watch, there's some remarkable things for the core of the Little Rock region that had drastic implications across the region.
Yeah, let's talk about what some of those things were. You got the Big Dam Bridge. You've
Arkansas
got the
River Trail.
Start of the bike trails. You've got the River Market, Library, the River Rail.
Urbanism in general, just a resurgence of interest in urbanism that started here and spread to Argenta. It's in downtown Conway and downtown Benton. All the downtowns are trying to emulate the success and the urban environment and fabric they've created here. So yeah, big influence.
You were a newbie in politics at the time when those guys were in tenure. You were doing your thing up in Conway as well, which there was a lot going on there.
Not quite. I was a member of the Citizens Advisory Committee, the TAC, back in 92 to 95, which helped produce the document, working with the broad Regional Citizens Advisory Committee, that those guys got to sign. I didn't become a member of the club, so to speak, by getting elected mayor until 1999.
Mayor Dave Kinley was probably the mayor in Conway at the time up there, so I get bonus points for that.
You do.
That's
that was pulling one out from the archives.
Please hold your applause. Anyhow, but all of that was going on at the time. What do you think led everybody that was in leadership at that time to say, let's push for what we now call new urbanism? That wasn't really the phrase back then necessarily. Where do you think they kind of caught that vision from?
I think one of the things about being in Arkansas and Little Rock is that other areas get to kind of lead the way. We get to see what's good and what's bad. And you could tell that with the suburban blowout of the walls, so to speak, in the huge urban southwestern areas like Dallas and Houston, that we wanted something a little more when we were seeing the suburban growth beginning to start in earnest outside of Pulaski County. So they didn't want to lose the center as we grew into the Faulkner counties and Lonoke counties and Saline counties. So they wanted a reconcentration of that. And that coincided with a rise across planning circles and transportation circles of urbanism and doing those things that included multimodality, which means you can walk, you can bike, you can ride transit, which was still a kind of a novel concept for most people back in those days. Mm-hmm. So there was a convergence of ideas that these guys picked up on and pushed, not only for themselves, but to all of us folks out in the region too.
I know too. I've talked with Jimmy Moses and I've talked with Buddy Valines before too, and they had traveled around to some different areas of the country and had seen some of the things that they wanted to start putting in place here too. I know that will come up in that conversation.
Benchmarking is huge, and they got to see it, and they wanted to bring it here and apply the successes here before growth distorted things beyond recapturing what was once here in the downtown.
Let's talk about the Horizon report that you referenced earlier there. It calls balls and strikes as you see it, as you said. So what do you think, let's start first with what was gotten right? What do you think that we did well over the last 25 years?
I think that's a very good call. The biking and walking was not part of our transportation dictionary, so to speak. A lot of the cities had pretty much eliminated sidewalk requirements from new developments and plans. that plan called for a doubling down on investment for our sidewalks, provide another means besides a vehicle. That included bikeways, that included transit. So that it got right. That was back before the Arkansas River Trail, which was another one of those check-off accomplishments for the terms of those 3 elected officials. That was one of the things we got right. The Big Dam Bridge was certainly an outfall of that. That was one thing. The emphasis on transit, even though it's still yet to pay dividends, they haven't found the called for regional funding mechanism to help increase funding levels to Rock Region Metro. It was CATA in those days, but one of the things they did was took one entire year of Metroplan funding back in the mid-90s and dedicated it to the rolling stock of CATA so you could replace all the old outdated buses in one fell swoop. And that was pretty heady stuff and visionary stuff.
Yeah. So what did they not get right?
Well, obviously, if they wanted to hold the region to a 6-lane cap freeway policy, there were some things that were prerequisites for that. They had to create parallel arterials to pick up extra capacity needed from the outlying areas. They needed to create a robust transit system, neither of which came through, and so the 6-lane cap couldn't withstand the growth pressures that came and actually moderated to some degree, but were still there enough to where as you pushed 6-lane freeways out to the rim, the core was the one bearing the pressure all of a sudden. That's where the pinches were.
From your vantage point of where you are today, you can look back now that 25 years and you can see what went into some of the decision making of how urban planning was made, how regional planning was done. How is it different today than you think it might have been 25 years ago? What are you equipped with today, or is it just we're in a different lifestyle trend today so that it's a whole different set of I guess, numbers that are part of the equation?
I think there's a couple things. Number one, we have experience behind us. We know what worked, and we know where we probably shouldn't bank our money in terms of the future. But we also know that we have an entirely different environment out there for what people want. People still wanted an American dream that included a large lot in the suburbs with the fenced backyard for Fido and the swing set and the Briggs and Stratton engined mower out front, and the wood-paneled, station wagon, whatever. That's changing into where there is a growing group of people that like the urban atmosphere, that want to be downtown and want to be connected, not just at work, but living. So we're working in a better environment, but also we know that it's going to take, we have a better idea of what it's going to take to generate other means of getting around. We know that it's going to take transportation that's integrated with each other, whether it's car, bike, ped, micro-transit, whether it's bicycle or scooters.
Right.
It's all going to have to be part of the equation, and they all have to be accommodated, or everything goes to the lowest common denominator, which will be the freeway system. So that's some of the things we've learned, but picking up and trusting that through all our jurisdictions where the codes are put in place that feed the system that we call the major transportation, whether it's transit or freeways, it's got to be done there. And that's the other thing we've learned is we've learned the transportation system starts at each of our front door, if not where we store our keys at night.
Yeah.
So we've got a plan from that point, and that's the bailiwick of our local jurisdictions.
All right, maybe we'll get some river transportation going too. I'm just throwing that out there. So
absolutely.
Got this big marina coming up over here with John Burkhalter's circus atmosphere. I mean, you got to capitalize on that.
Absolutely. That was one of the visuals we saw on our visual preference survey back in 1995 that we all looked at it and thought, wouldn't that be neat? Well, now it might be possible.
I'm going to throw in Jim Jackson and Lisa Farrell's Rockwater Village over there too. It's a good thing.
That is exactly right. Great project.
All right, so Monday, October 21st, Ron Robinson Theater, 6 p.m. You can catch the founding fathers of Central Arkansas, Buddy Valines, Jim Daly, and Pat Hayes, all on the stage together. Our friend Steve Barnes will be moderating that, and I trust you will be there to
I will be there.
Soak it all up.
I'll be the greeter.
All right. Thank you, Tab.
Thank
Good
you,
to see
Roby.
you. All right.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
That's all for today's Talk Business and Politics. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Roby Brock. We'll see you next time.